Here's one of the most dangerous financial assumptions you can make. I have enough insurance and so I'm covered. The reality, most people are walking around with major gaps they don't even know exists. And those gaps don't show up until it's too late. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on what your insurance actually does and what it doesn't. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Welcome into Legacy Beyond Wealth. I am Ben George with Rob Shelton. He is the founder of Axio Wealth Management, where they specialize in comprehensive wealth management tailored for successful families. We got a good show for you today. Obviously, talking insurance, maybe not something that you automatically think of, but I think, Rob, based on that tease to start off this video, you probably get a few people thinking because, oh, maybe I'm a little uncomfortable not knowing whether or not I'm covered. So how often do you meet with people and talk with them and start kind of peeling back some things and saying, okay, maybe they think they're covered, but they aren't quite covered like they expected to be?
Yeah, and this is one topic I feel like a lot of people that claim to be wealth managers don't really dive into. We talk about wealth management, asset protection, and protecting your assets is huge. And so we want to visit this at least on an annual basis with clients where we're going through and reviewing their policies. And we want to work very collaboratively with the insurance professional of their choice to be able to make sure that those gaps are covered, but really making sure the client understands the coverages they do have.
Yeah, and that's why we want to kind of talk about this. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. All the contact information is in the show description. But I'm sure you've met with some people that you kind of do a review and you kind of uncover that. Do you have any stories that you can share to kind of paint that picture for what that looks like?
Absolutely. And it seems like every time we do a review, there are gaps that exist. Some are big and some are small, but I'll give you a real example here that's really stuck with me. We had a client in California and we asked for them to send us their declaration pages so we could work in a collaborative environment with their insurance professional. And she had called to get the declaration pages and come to find out there was no insurance on the property. And this was a property worth multiple millions of dollars. And they had it paid off for years, but because there was no mortgage or bank involved, there was no one watching to make sure that the insurance was in place and was left up to her. And she had simply just changed bank accounts. And the insurance company tried to draft the policy premium and it didn't go through because of that bank change. And it left her without any coverage, which really shocked her.
That's pretty alarming. I mean, a multi-million-dollar home and having no coverage like that seems a little terrifying.
Absolutely. She was only just one event away, a fire or a natural disaster, from losing millions and millions of dollars that could have been protected. And so glad we got a chance to be able to catch that and make sure that she had that coverage in place.
Yeah, no question. And look, these are conversations you should be having with your financial advisor or your wealth manager, right? And that story alone should get your attention. I know there are some other areas where people get surprised. Rob, what's another spot where someone maybe need to pay a little closer attention?
One that I found, I served on the city council in my town for 12 years. And during that time, I really got to know a little bit about insurance and how it works. And you wouldn't think that maybe would be the case, but I remember two different instances where a city water line in the middle of the road had erupted and it broke and it ended up flooding out the neighbors' properties and their basements were all flooded. And it was an insurance nightmare because most homeowners insurance policies will only cover water lines that are inside the home that have any issues or leaks, nothing from outside the home or in the yard. And so the city's insurance wouldn't cover it because they claimed it to be an act of God. And these residents didn't have any coverage at all either. And so you're talking multiple hundreds of dollars of damage done to someone's home. And so it's good to be able to think about some of those things. And how do we try to make sure that you're prepared so you're not left going, wait, I'm not covered?
Yeah, that does kind of get my attention. I get some letters in the mail, not a lot, but I've gotten them a few times as a homeowner that do point that out, Rob. Hey, you're not protected from this event happening with the water lines, and I always kind of brush it off as like, well, I get solicitations all the time. This is probably just another one.
It is. And when we think about insurance, when you talk about risks, there's three different things you can do. One is you can transfer that risk. And that's what insurance really is you're transferring that risk to the insurance company. The other one is you can avoid the risk, like not driving a car. And that way you're not having any exposure to that risk. The third one is you can do your best to mitigate the risk. And in this example with these homeowners, most of their properties were below the grade of the road. And so that's one thing. As I look to buy a home, I'm always looking at making sure there's some elevation between the grade of the road and my house to make sure that if there is anything that happens, it's not going to drain right down into my basement. But those are things that we want to review with clients and be able to make sure that they understand the risks they're taking and use one of those three approaches.
That makes me feel a little bit better because my home is elevated. So if I do have this water line issue, at least it won't hopefully affect the home. It'll go downstream. But again, this is one of those events where you just don't know until it happens, right? And that's the real challenge here with insurance is you don't know what you need or you don't know where those gaps are until it hits you.
Yeah, and the great part about it when you work with a firm like ourselves is we really want to get clarity for you. Want to pull your policies, review your coverages, and help educate where you're actually protected. And then do that in a collaborative environment with your insurance provider to make sure we get their expertise as well. And so getting a second opinion can really help save you thousands, if not millions of dollars to make sure you got the right coverages.
Yeah. And how important is it to get a second opinion on some of this stuff too, Rob?
It's critical, right? We review this every year, and those clients have been with us. There's just few changes from year to year, and they're pretty small because we're actively and proactively managing it. When we bring on a brand new client that hasn't done this for a while, there's usually some pretty big gaps, and we love to be able to see that we can address those before anything major happens.
Are you ready to unlock the freedom to live your best life? Schedule your no-cost 60-minute discovery meeting with our team today. During this session, we'll take the time to understand your family's story and financial dreams. Together, we'll craft a personalized roadmap designed to help you achieve your goals. Let's explore how we can unlock the freedom for you and your family to thrive. Just click the link in the description of today's show to get started.
Yeah, that's super important. Again, if you have any questions for Rob, we want to be in touch and begin talking about, insurance and everything that they touch on at Axio Wealth Management during that comprehensive approach that's tailored for those successful families. You can begin with the discovery call. It's about an hour long, Rob. I'm sure, I don't know if you'll touch on insurance specifically in that first conversation, but over the course of those first initial meetings, I'm sure this is something you cover.
Absolutely is. In fact, it is. We go over all professionals in different areas of wealth management that we see being critical. And insurance is definitely one of them.
All right. Again, if you want to get in touch, AxioWM.com. You can also call 801-717-9237. But hopefully this gives you at least something to be thinking about. Hopefully shine a little light on an area that gets overlooked by a lot of people, and at least take the steps now to have the conversations to make sure you are fully protected. Again, that's so important to make sure you protect those things that you work so hard for. And insurance is not something you want to talk about all the time, but again, a topic that's very important for your overall financial health. So if you have questions, get in touch with Rob. We appreciate you watching and listening to another episode of Legacy Beyond Wealth.